Welcome into ProBox TV, headed toward a great card, February 8th, San Antonio, Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. How about the main event when you have a combined 45 wins with one lone defeat? That's when you know you got a great one. To help me break it down, Jimmy Smith in studio with the champs, Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri. Gentlemen, that's where we're going to start out with this main event. Ramon Cardenas, 25-1, but the known product here on ProBox TV. He's fought for us before, had him on our air. We know about his talent, but Brian Acosta, 20-0, but could be that snake in the grass, the one you don't see, you might have to look out for. Paulie, I got to start with you. When you look at Ramon Cardenas, we know about the talent he brings. Is it good being the known quantity, or do you want to be kind of under the radar a little bit?
You know, that's the thing about the beauty about ProBox TV. A lot of the guys we bring here, they're sort of the unknown quantity, and they sort of get that exposure that has been missing on TV lately. You know what I mean? With Showbox going off the air, ESPN2 Friday Night Fights going off the air, you go back a little bit before that, it was Tuesday Night Fights, USA Tuesday Night Fights. This layer of boxing is sort of kind of disappears. That's where I love that we've brought this to the table here at ProBox TV. And the boxing world needs to show this layer because the hidden gems are here. You know, it's not low, it's not high where everybody's known already. It's not low where they're just bad and you don't care really. Yep. It's that mid-tier where guys can sort of sprout up at championship level. And I think we've shown that in the existence of ProBox TV. We've shown that, and we've shown the boxing fans, just like the old Friday Night Fights and Showbox series. You know, there are guys there that you're going to see that you may not have heard of, that are good in there and can become world champions and do become world champions. And I feel like with Ramon Cardenas, he was one of those guys, but now he's become the known entity on our network. Is Brian Acosta that snake, you know, that sneaky guy you don't know yet? He's got an undefeated, nice record. You come here to see if your record is for real. ProBox TV is basically what those other boxing series used to be that sort of went off the air. We are that and more, you know, and I feel like it's probably one of my favorite things about ProBox TV is getting these kind of guys this exposure and discovering them ourselves. Because you're kind of, when you know who you're going to watch, and it's a big fight, don't get me wrong, it's always exciting. But when you kind of don't know yet and you're watching and all of a sudden it just debilitates into this great fight.
Is, you know, they always say it's a theater of the unexpected. When you have someone
all
come out of
hungry
nowhere,
here.
and they're actually fantastic fighters, and we're seeing more and more. And like you said, champ, a lot of these guys now they're making it to the big show. Angel is a world champion right now. Came back on our air. A guy like Ramon Cardenas, he actually said in the interview when we spoke to him recently, he was like, man, all the promoters weren't signing me. They weren't giving me the time of day.
That's why you need something like this. You need it. They get that exposure.
He caught a lone loss early. Right away, promotions will look at that and be like, man, we'll move on. This kid's world class. He very well may be a world champion in the next 18 months. He's that good. We've seen him on our air. So a guy like him, he's a perfect product of what we've been able to do here at ProBox TV.
When you look at it, Paulie, the ceiling for Cardenas, when you look at the skill set, right? Certain guys, what they do stands out in a way. What stands out to you about Cardenas in his style that he's going to bring February 8th? What do you see when you look at all the skills? What stands up to you?
When I look at Cardenas, right, you think good boxer, you think cerebral, you think that, but I can't get that left hook out of my mind. That whipping left hook that he was it Picasso with the guy's name? Pizarro was it? Or the first time we saw him. I forget the name of the opponent, but when he broke the guy's jaw, his jaw went one way and his teeth went the other way.
We could hear it ringside. And if you go back to the video and the rematch,
it was a good fighter. It was a good fighter.
Israel Picasso was
Israel Picasso. So I wasn't going crazy. See,
you were going great. Picasso.
I will have some meatloaf.
And also the shifted face, very Picasso.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know, I think about that and it stands out to me. But then you can also sort of get lost in that. You know, that's sort of a casual take where you're like, oh, the big power, the big shot. No, this guy's very cerebral. He's thinking in there. You can see the rhythm that he's got. He's looking to create the openings. Even when he throws that left hook, it's not just thrown randomly. He's whipping in there and he's creating the openings. Very, very impressive fighter to me. And we've had some of those. Sometimes we just get really good fights, and I love that too. But you don't know if the winners of those really good fights will get to that next level and be able to succeed. Sometimes they do. Either way, I love the fact that we get constant hungry fighters here because they haven't been to the big dance. Or maybe they've been there and they've come back down and they want to get back there. The hunger and the talent, the combination of hunger and talent is best at this level. That's why I love what we do at ProBox TV. Because at a high level, you get championship fights sometimes. And I don't want to, am I talking too much, guys? I'm just going to give you one last point, all right? You get at a high level the talent that you want to see. But sometimes they're getting paid so much that you'll see guys sort of give you that half-assed approach, like, all right, this guy's too good for me.
I won't take the risk.
Yeah, I won't take the risk. Let me get, take this check.
There's too much on the line.
And I'll come back next time or whatever. At this level, ProBox TV level, you can't do that because you're still
There's
looking to get to a high level.
There's no win here, look good tomorrow.
Yeah.
We don't have that on ProBox TV. And
You get no moral victory here. Yeah, you will bring you back.
Yeah.
Sure, but your life ain't changing here. Your point of ProBox TV is to expose you to be world class when nobody knows you're world class. That's what I love about this level. We've all been to this level on the way up, and it's when you're your most hungry because you know you also have the talent to get there, and the world doesn't yet know, and you're dying to show it. ProBox TV gives you that chance.
What I'm curious about, you touched on it a little bit, the risk factor here. Gary Jonas, the boss here, said, hey, there was big stuff in the offering for Cardenas. If he had just waited and maybe not taken this fight, maybe that big fight is next. If he had sat out a little bit, he's not sitting out. He's taking on a hungry, undefeated guy. Good move, bad move. Chris, what do you think of the move itself?
I like it because I like fighters to fight. I like fighters to take risk. I think it keeps them hungry. It keeps them, right. It takes them the gritting their teeth, and they can smell the victory. So I like it. It's going to keep him sharp. It's going to keep him in the gym because where he's going, that's where he needs to be. He needs to be sharp. He needs to be switched on at all times. And I think this is an important fight for him. Now we might look after this fight if he catches a loss and like, wow, he just really fumbled the bag there because we've seen that time and time again. Because listen, this is not an easy fight. Acosta is a dangerous guy. He's just as hungry. He wants to take the position. That's another great thing about ProBox TV. You have the ability to take someone else's position. Ramon Cardenas has been on our platform, has showed out against his top-level competition, has looked fantastic, got knockout after knockout after knockout. He's on a 4-fight knockout streak right now. Acosta, undefeated, relatively unknown on this side of the game. He gets a win, steps right into that position. Undefeated, just knock off a top guy, a highly rated guy. He can step right into a big fight immediately off a victory here.
When you look at this fight, one of the things that's very, very rare, I was calling a fight a few years ago, and I was thinking about boxers that became punchers. And I was thinking of who is on that list, because Arizona Lara has said, I've been a boxer before, I'm going to knock guys out now. And I thought, who does that? And I called Steve Farhood, friend of ours, a guy who knows a ton of boxing. God, what boxers became punchers?
Friend of ours.
Friend of ours here. Friend of ours here. Friend of ours over here.
What do I call you? You keep your mouth shut about me.
I always do, Paulie. You know you're safe with me. But that idea of a boxer becoming a puncher, he said, God, Tommy Hearns wasn't a big puncher as an amateur, became a puncher as a pro. Juan Manuel Marquez, more of a boxer, became a puncher.
Arturo Gatti was not a big puncher in the amateurs
right.
either.
But it's very rare. Cardenas is kind of doing that. You mentioned it, Chris. He's suddenly late in his career become a bigger puncher. Paulie, how do you do that? How does it stick? What changes this?
With a guy like Cardenas, I also think it's the development as a fighter. Also, you get more rounds as you develop more. You're fighting longer rounds. I think sometimes guys like with the boxing style of Cardenas, they're thinking fighters. So even if they're going to stop you, they're not Golovkin type of power, but they still are the kind of guys that will beat you up and break you over the course of time and get the stoppage. And that's sort of what I see when I see Cardenas. Yeah, he had that one punch shot that broke the jaw of Picasso, but that that's a lightning in a bottle.
It was a scrap up until that point.
Yeah.
But I think in the example of Cardenas, I just think it's the rounds that he now has to sort of bring that IQ and do the different stuff in there and figure things out and sort of land more and more cleanly because he's getting more and more intelligent.
I also think it has to do with the corner. Joel Diaz is up.
That's why we got Chris Algieri here. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I made a good point. And then the champ also makes a good point. And that's exactly why we have this show.
A lot of F-bombs in that last fight.
With Algieri, though. I mean, with Algieri, look at this. I'm sorry about you. With Lara. With Lara, I just think he got older and he's more flat-footed.
He sat down.
That's why he's
more
flat-footed. But I digress. Go ahead, Jim.
So with Cardenas, he hooked up with Joel Diaz, and it's a rare stat. You normally get all your knockouts in the beginning of your career when you're fighting lower-level competition. Cardenas is the other way around. He's only got 15 KOs in his 25 wins, which isn't. You don't look at that number and be like, oh, he's a huge puncher. But listen, his last 4 KOs have been the best competition he's fought. You rarely see that, and he's still a young guy. It's not like Lara, like you said, where now he's setting down. He's got the timing. He's getting a little physically strong, getting his match. Nah, it's not even that. He's just doing it because he's got a coach who's been to that level, has let him know, listen, you're at this level. Man, when we interviewed Joel Diaz, he speaks so highly about Ramon Cardenas. He really believes that he's got a very special world-class talent on his hands, and we're starting to see that. I think he gets a lot out of his guys. He demands it. We were laughing about what was going on in the corner. I mean, it was as entertaining in between the round as it was during the round because Joel Diaz is jumping down Ramon's throat the whole time.
Well, it's probably that Joel sees what this guy capable of in the
how
gym, and then he's like, bro, what are you showing me? What are you lay an egg over here? Show me what you showed me in the gym. And we got it. He got it out of him.
So if you're Brian Acosta, 20-0, but Chris, you and I were talking before we went on air, and you were like, Not a lot on this kid. Like, it's just hard to find a lot of footage on him. Hasn't fought high-level opposition. What is the mentality going in this fight? Be surprising early, play the long game. What's your thought strategy-wise on this?
Well, I mean, be the undefeated guy who doesn't know how to lose. He actually, this situation reminds me a lot of myself when I was fighting Ruslan Provodnikov. Coming out of nowhere, I was undefeated. I had a sterling record, not a lot of knockouts, not a big puncher. This guy's not either. And I see even stylistically a little bit. He's tall for the weight class. He's long. He switches sides. He's athletic. He doesn't do anything particularly great, but he's pretty good at everything. For him, for me, in this situation, he needs to go in there and be like, I'm the guy. I don't care who you are. That's how my mindset was when I was fighting for the world title. I was undefeated. I was coming in to get beat, but I was thinking, I'm like, this is my show. So Acosta needs to go out there and have that mindset that I may be the underdog, but I'm only the underdog because people don't know how good I am. And I need to go out there and show that guy across the ring and the rest of the world I'm the guy to watch.
Also, it has to, when you're somebody like Acosta, you have an undefeated record, but you're not as known as Cardenas. So Cardenas has, the impressive wins on TV. He's got probably the better resume, better level of opposition. You're still 20-0 if you're Acosta. So you've gotten there, and your confidence is there because you're 20-0. Whether you're missing some parts of an arsenal that's necessary at this level, you don't believe that. And I think part of that mentality
and that can be a good thing.
Yes. It's necessary. The champ Chris talks about how he was thinking about it when he was coming up. And I think with a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience, the thing that can throw you off is they're getting better and better every year. You know what I mean? And with Chris, I remember seeing him a couple of years before and be like, kid's okay. But he comes from kickboxing. I can see the kickboxing habits that he still has. And then you see him a year later. He's like, well, this kid's okay. And then you see him there. You're like, oh, So I think it's important for Acosta to keep showing what he hasn't shown in every single fight. So that all of a sudden, when you get to this level right here, now you get to this particular fight, you got to show us maybe even a little more. Because I think it's going to take even a little more to keep his undefeated record against Cardenas. But you're still 20-0, and with that, when you come in undefeated, you still have that little bit extra zest, a little bit extra hunger,
Ooh, I like that.
a little bit
Zest.
extra, a little bit extra self-belief. That's the espresso.
Not zesty, not zesty. A little zest.
Yeah, that's the Donnie Coffey's espresso coming in. Getting the adjectives going.
What I'm curious about when you look at it was, George Foreman versus Muhammad Ali. George Foreman, of course, the big puncher. It was custom model. It said, go in there, punch him in the mouth. Let him know he's not going to push you around. Now, Ali, of course, famous for the rope-a-dope, but he made that statement early. Chris, if you are in the corner of Brian Acosta, do you have him make that statement, let's say first couple rounds, not necessarily getting in a slugfest, but maybe stand your ground, maybe throw some punches to show that I'm not overwhelmed by the moment? Is that important?
Absolutely, and that's what I was alluding to earlier when I said, listen, I got to make that guy in front of me understand that I belong here. And by doing that, like you said, punch him in the mouth. But also, it's going to take a lot of chin and a great gas tank from Acosta because he's not the puncher in this situation. And Cardenas is a very dangerous puncher. He can knock you out one punch. He can hurt you. We saw him break jaws. He's a very dangerous puncher. So Acosta is not only going to have to be slick and smart and have a great gas tank, he's going to have to keep it up all night long.
Think about what Angelo Dundee and Ali and what Acosta is. Angelo Dundee and Ali had been there with guys like Liston already and guys like Frazier already. Acosta, he hasn't been there at this kind of level yet. So
he's also fighting in his opponent's hometown.
The undefeated record is a little bit untested. But nonetheless, got to go in there and punch the guy in the mouth. But the same applies to Cardenas. Cardenas realizes he's got a guy who's gone undefeated, but he hasn't been at this level. I'm going to go up there and punch him in the mouth and welcome him to this level. Sometimes it works both ways.
Last thing I have to ask you, Paulie, I'll start with you. When it comes to his last fight where he was tested, Yoel Diaz was saying you're not doing what we trained. You aren't living up to the level. You aren't living up to my expectations. And he rose to that, got a knockout in the 9th round. Do you like that leading this fight? In that the 20-0 guy might have his moments, might have his rounds, he might be behind, but he showed he can come back. Do you like that before this fight?
Yeah, I love that because I think anybody loves that, Jimmy, because it shows a little bit of a character and versatility in your style, right? So you're okay, this is working for a little bit, it may not work. Let me adjust to this, let me adjust to that. I think Acosta is also going to have to show it. As a matter of fact, Acosta is probably a guy who hasn't had to show that yet because his level of opposition is a little bit less, right? So he's probably had more success overall. He hasn't had to go back to the corner and say, oh, let me make some adjustments here because it's not going my way. He may run into that in this fight. And this is sort of something you already have to remind yourself of when you step up to this level. You step up to the higher levels, you start fighting guys that all of a sudden you punch them in the mouth. You know what they do? They don't go away. They punch you back. So I think with Acosta, he's going to have to, also work on some things. I think he's got the potential with that long jab and athletic style, maybe to befuddle Cardenas a little bit. And maybe Cardenas sort of gets stuck in the mud. He's impressive, but if he can't get into range, all of a sudden he may find himself behind. But at the same time, Acosta has a tendency to be front foot heavy. And we see what happens with tall guys who jab front foot heavy. When we see Mario Barrios fight, who looks doofy as it gets, even though he's got a welterweight title, when you're front foot heavy and you're tall and you jab on your front foot, you're getting hit with counters constantly. So Acosta, I think, has the ability to maybe leave Cardenas in the mud from what we've seen Cardenas at times. But Acosta also has a little bit of the technical detriments that can end up making him pay from Cardenas. We'll see. That's why I'm curious about the way it's going to play out.
We know about the technique. We know about the character. It's about what's on display February 8th. Ramon Cardenas taking on Brian Acosta. Be a great main event. See it right here on ProBox TV. Find out why millions are watching.